Hi everyone, welcome to Classroom Design. My name is Melanie Eisen and I am going to be on this journey with you for the next couple of weeks. I love a classroom redo. When I was in the classroom just last year, or even going into classrooms in my role now with the YU School Partnership, the first thing I do is look around the classroom. What am I looking for? Always good ideas, areas of interest in the classroom, how the teacher moves around in the classroom, how the kids move around in the classroom. But I have to be honest, when I walk into a classroom and I see clutter, it makes me cringe. If it affects the way the kids can move around the classroom, if you have to step over things in order to get to your students, if it would take too long to move the desks around to 4 different groups, it's time for a little bit of a tweak. There are so many areas in a classroom that can stand for some redo or some remake over, that it should be an ongoing process throughout the school year. Even if you teach higher grades, it should always be an evolving project. It should be organic in nature. Your classroom should reflect what's going on in the content, so that when kids are looking around the classroom, they see A, that it's theirs, it belongs to them, and B, it reflects what they're doing. So I've walked into classrooms and seen them be pristine. In other words, there isn't a scrap of anything on the floor. The desks are lined up exactly the way they should be. The bulletin boards, the paper fits just so. There's borders. Nothing's been moved or changed. And somebody might say, well, that's very orderly. It can encourage kids to work together. It will encourage them to think outside the box, to collaborate, to be creative, to be problem solvers. But for me, when I look at a classroom like that, I question whether the teacher had anything to do with the stuff that's on the walls. If all you have up there are posters that you pulled out of some closet, with no set rhyme or reason to why they're organized the way they are, you might want to look at it. But even better, you might want to have other people look at it. When I would set up my classroom, I would have kids come in, look around, walk around. At the time, if I was teaching kindergarten, first grade, second grade, fifth grade, whatever I was teaching, this was going to be their space. It was really important to me that they found that if they looked around the walls, everything had meaning to them. If I asked them a question, sometimes they could look around and solve the answer. Things should be at the level of where your students are. So what does your classroom look like? Under no circumstances am I suggesting it looks like this. Maybe it does. Maybe you call it organized chaos. But to a child, to a student coming into a classroom, to a parent coming into a classroom, to an administrator coming into a classroom, to another teacher coming in to share the classroom, it might not be a big deal to you if stuff is on the floor or there's no rhyme or reason to how things are organized, but it might to somebody else, and it certainly will to a student who might not be at the top level in terms of their academics. They're looking to their surroundings to help them get through the day. So you might have your content organized beautifully. You might have beautifully tiered lessons. The activities might be amazing. But if you have things cluttered all over your classroom, where's your student who might be easily distracted going to look? Are they going to be looking at the right sheet that you want them to be looking on? Are they going to be focusing on you? Or are they going to be focusing on some clutter in the corner, wondering if there's something in there for them? So take a look at your classroom, to look at it from a pure design standpoint. What is it about your classroom that maybe you want to change? But you're not in this alone at all. We're going to use the ideas, the basic tenets of design thinking in order to attack this issue. I also want to make clear that while have done this before, I'm no expert in this, so we're on this journey together. Unfortunately, Lisa Fusco, who is the expert in this, was not able to teach. I didn't want to let this one go. I think we can get through it together, and I think the reading so far to me has been very interesting and inspiring. So let's see, what does design thinking look like? What is design thinking? Design thinking is used in many different areas, not just education for sure. Design thinking has been used in corporations, in schools, all over, trying to get more people involved in problem solving, identifying the issue, and moving on. So what we're going to look at the next couple of weeks are 4 steps towards change in design thinking. These steps reflect collaboration, reflection, creativity, and problem solving. All 21st century skills that we want to model and encourage our own students to do. So by involving them in the design thinking process, you're actually using the tools you want them to use when dealing with content. Step 1 is empathy. So if you look at this cartoon, you'll see oftentimes Empathy, when we think, first thing of empathy, we think of helping somebody who's in need. In this case, we're looking at empathy because we want to hear what people have to say about our space. So especially in the first step of the stage of the game, you're going to do a lot of interviews. Although this is your classroom, who else uses this classroom? Your students use this classroom, parents might come in, administration might come in. You want to get as many voices as you can in on this design thinking process. But first and foremost, I would involve your students. The empathy process also combines with observations. What do people see when they walk into your classroom? Not just you, but others that have a stake in what your classroom is. Step 2 is brainstorming. Brainstorming has been used for a long time, but we really want to make use of the brainstorming. When people are walking around your classroom, when you are in the interview process, you're going to gather ideas. And then you're going to brainstorm. Either you're going to do this by yourself or you're going to do it with other teachers, administration, students, friends. Not just to pull random ideas, but to pull ideas that make sense to you. So organizing the brainstorming is very, very important. Step 3 is creating a basic prototype. So you want to think about the one area. Once you've collected your interview data and you've brainstormed, by not with too many people, involving a couple students maybe, involving your administration a little bit, involving a friend, you want to start to think about what it might look like. So for example, if you wanted to change the way your classroom was structured in terms of how your desks were in the classroom, if they were in a circle, if they were in rows, if they were in groups, and you want to make a change. So you might want to create sort of a design as to what that might look like on paper. You can share it with your stakeholders. You can share it with a friend. It's very, very important, though, that a lot of ideas might come up, especially if you involve students. They're going to want to reinvent the wheel. You have to be able to do whatever it is you're going to set forth to do. So if it's about redoing your bulletin boards, great. That's something you can do. If it's about redesigning how your desks are laid out, perfect. That should be something you can do. If it's about moving bulletin boards, moving whiteboards, things like that, that might be something that could fall within your realm of what you can do, but might not. So make sure that the plan, the prototype that you design is something that you can control and you can get done. You don't want to be frustrated before you even try. Finally, you have the test. The test is when you try it out. If you're trying to go for an interactive bulletin board, if you're trying to reorganize the desks, if you're going for grouping your students in a different way, you want to try it out. Be very reflective in this process and in the effectiveness. Go back to your stakeholders. Make sure that this worked for them. If it didn't, ask them why. Make changes if needed, and try again. So that's what we're going to do the next couple of weeks. This first week, what I want you to do is your interviews and your brainstorming session. In your interviews, you're going to hand anybody that you're going to ask to help in this process a stack of Post-it notes. They're going to take a tour of your classroom. On the Post-it notes, it's going to be a silent activity. On the Post-it notes, you want them to write down, for example, change the bulletin board, move the desk, and put the Post-it note either in one specific area in your classroom or exactly where they want the change to be. Then you're going to gather all this data, sit down with all these Post-it notes, and decide what is the project that I think I can handle in the next couple of weeks. That's what we're doing this week. Reach out to me with any questions or concerns. I'm here for you guys. I'm really excited by this project. I hope you enjoy it.